Good morning and welcome to Coffee and the Word. It's Monday morning and I need to tell you a couple of things. Number one, for those of you who don't know, Cowboys won again yesterday. They're 3-1. For those of you who don't know, I am actually a Cowboys fan. And so just wanted to catch you up on that, and really I haven't had a chance to tell anybody yet. So I'm telling you. Today is Monday and I want to continue kind of my theme about this concept of renewing your mind and taking captive your thoughts that I started last week. And I want to take you to a subject. So all of you, all my worrywarts, all my people who spend more time in your life worrying, and I don't know what's going on here. It went dark, so I don't know what happened. There we go. All right, never had that kind of technical issue in the middle of a Coffee and the Word. But anyway, all of my worrywarts, all the people who spent a lot of their time worrying, and I know who you are. I've met many of you, and I know how it works. If you're not worrying, you're worried that you're not worrying. And so I want to talk to you because Jesus speaks directly to you. Here's what he says. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry. There we go. All right, guys. Well, y'all have a great... No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, I cracked myself up. It's funny because what Jesus said, he's like, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life. And then he says, don't worry about what you'll eat or what or about your body or what you will wear. For life is more than food and the body is more than clothes. And so the first thing Jesus does is like, don't worry. And like I said, all of us are like, okay, Jesus, that's a great idea. Now teach me how. Okay, let me teach you how. First of all, did you see the therefore in there? He said something earlier that's very, very important. And what he says earlier is, this is how it will be with you. Whoever stores up things for themselves, sorry, I didn't go up far enough. Earlier, he tells us that we should store up our treasures in heaven and not on earth. In other words, our big focus ought to be what God's doing, not what we're doing. Our big focus ought to be what God's providing, not what we have to provide. And then he says, therefore, don't worry. Don't worry about your life, because your life is more than food. And your life is more than what you'll wear, than your body. And he goes on and he's like, so my first point is your life is more than that. Don't focus on those small things. Second thing he goes on to say is like, look at the ravens. They don't sow or reap. They have no storeroom in their barn. Are you not more valuable than they? And God feeds them. So I don't know why I can't read today. He says, they do not sow or reap, they have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable are you than birds? So his first point is your life's more than whatever you're worried about. His second point is God is going to take care of you. And then his third point on this, and this is maybe the one that you need to hear, because the truth is we live in a pretty well-off reality. We're very blessed in our world. And I don't know that anybody here spends a lot of time worrying about your needs. Like, there's going to be food. And even when I grew up, we were not by any means well off or comfortable. But we didn't worry about whether or not we would get to eat. Now, we might not like what we had to eat, but we knew we would get to eat. And even when my wife and I first got married, we ate a lot of Hamburger Helper, but we got to eat. Like, starvation wasn't on the table for us. And I realize starvation is on the table for some people. But for most people watching this video, in fact, dare suggest anybody watching this video, you probably got the eating part down, right? So when we read this passage, we're like, well, I don't worry about that. No, you don't worry about that. You worry about a lot of other stuff. You worry about what the people at work are thinking about you. You worry about what you have to do tomorrow. You worry about whether or not whether or not people like you. You worry about whether or not your spouse liked what you cooked or what you did, and you worry about, and your list of worries has way more to do with the things that you experience than about whether or not you get to eat. And I'm not diminishing that by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, what I want to tell you is that the principles Jesus lays out here are just as important. And one of the principles he lays out here is God's got you. And the second principle that he lays out is how valuable you are. And the third principle he lays out, which I haven't read yet, but I'm going to read to you now, he says, who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest? Which I find so interesting. How many of you can add an hour to your life? And he's like, well, since you can't do that little thing, and there's a clue there, right? You can't do that little thing. And to God, that's a little thing. He can add an hour to your life. He can add 5 hours to your life. He can add 5 years to your life. He can add 25 years to your life. That's a little thing to God. And since you can't do that little thing that God can do, you need to leave it in God's hands. You need to let God handle it. Yeah, but what if I don't? No. The what ifs that you create in your heart are only dragging you down and robbing you of the joy that God intends for you to have. And it's actually captivating your mind where you become a worshiper of worry. And so he says, don't worry about it. Don't worry about what you're going to eat. Don't worry about what you're going to wear. Don't worry about what the people are saying to you at work. Don't worry about whether or not the work is going to be there tomorrow. Don't worry about whether or not things are going to be okay at home. Don't worry about whether or not you said the wrong thing earlier today. Don't worry about whether or not you'll say the right thing a little bit later. Don't worry. You're not doing anything but causing havoc on your own life. Redirect your worry to relationship with God. You know, we've been talking about this whole thing is about renewing your mind and taking captive every thought. Well, here's what I want to tell you. The God that you serve is greater than the worry you hold on to. And so let him be God. Realize how valuable you are to him, and then trust him for the thing that you're worried about. Last thing. It's kind of more a philosophical argument, but here's my philosophical argument. How often have you worried about something that didn't come true? Think about it. How much energy have you spent worrying about something that never happened? Now, you might argue that your worry prevented the happening, but you know better. So I want you to start today off. I want you to breathe in, breathe deep, and then I want you to throw the worry out and put the faith on, because the God that you serve is greater than anything you're worried about, and he's able to add to, and you're not. So since you're not God, let God do the worrying, you do the living. He is our Father, and that's what we would want for our children. We wouldn't want our children worried. You shouldn't be either. God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful Monday morning. I hope this was an encouragement to you. Sorry about the technical difficulties and the inability to read when I started. I think I figured that out there at the end. But I do hope you have a wonderful Monday morning. God bless you. This has been another edition of Coffee and the Word.